Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'm going to finish up this chapter I was reading out of the South Carolina Ghost book by Nancy Roberts, and it's called Specter of the Slaughter Yards. At 2.5 hours after midnight, a hot-tempered young man named Duran Keenan answered the phone in the commercial cab office. The caller asked, "Are you ready to go with us?" Duran wanted to know what he meant, and there was a short laugh at the other end of the line. A voice replied, "Go over to Pickens and get that black guy who stabbed Brown." The call was one of many made that night. When Keenan reached the yellow cab office, 20 or 30 men were elbow to elbow in the small room, and a bottle of whiskey was making the rounds. Keenan cradled it with both hands, tipping it up while the raw liquid fire rolled down his throat. He drove by the home of a friend, awakened him, and pretended to want to borrow a shotgun for rabbit hunting in Georgia. We know he's not going to be borrowing it for that purposes. Taking the double-barrel shotgun and box of shells, Duran Keenan headed for the river meeting place. At least 6 other cabs had already arrived. Woodrow Clardy was driving the lead car, and in the front seat with him were Carlos Hurd and Johnny Worthington. A procession of cabs began to stalk their prey, following one and another down the road from Eastleigh to Pickens. In the gloom and darkness of the February morning, they reached the outskirts of Pickens at about 4:30. The jail was a grim old fortress. Within, all was dark. In the minutes before the men arrived, jailer Ed Gilstrap slept peacefully of his 2 prisoners who shared the strange coincidence of the same last name. James Earl slept the deep sleep of a drunk, and Willie Earl, maybe he dreamt of his long bus ride from Virginia, or of Sheriff W.H. Malden arresting him the afternoon before. The procession of cabs was now within a block of the jail. "Not a policeman in sight," said Worthington, chuckling. "If they are, they're too scared to come around." Clardy and Hurd pounded on the door of the jail. In a few minutes they heard the key turn and the jailer opened the door. "You know me, Gilstrap?" asked Hurd. "Sure. What do you want this hour of the morning?" "I want the man who killed Brown." "Carlos, you know I can't let you have him. You're going to get us all in a peck of..." And then he saw Hurd's shotgun, and just behind him, Duran Keenan with his double-barrel rabbit hunting gun. "They mean business. They ain't there to chit-chat. They want to kill that man now." "Wait, I put some clothes on," Carlos said Gilstrap, and went to his room. In a few minutes he was back, and Paul Criggs, Clardy, and Hurd followed him into the cell block. "There are 2 prisoners back there," said Gilstrap. "Which of them do you want?" Entering the cell block, they stopped and looked in the first cell. The inmate looked at them and cringed. Then he began to whine. "I'm not the one. He did it, not me." The men looked at him, then motioned to the jailer to open the door to the next cell. Willie Earls, Clardy, and Hurd grabbed him, and with Griggs' help, they half carried the frightened man down the steps and pushed him into Clardy's car. Clardy, Hurd, and Rector got in the front seat after shoving Willie Earl in the back between Worthington and Walter Crawford. The procession of cabs started back towards Eastleigh. "I want to know why you killed Brown," said Worthington. "I didn't kill him." "The hell you didn't!" The cab behind them blew its horn, and Clardy pulled over to the shoulder. They were near the Saldu Dam. Men swarmed out of the cars. Ernest Stokes was the first to reach the cab. "He says he didn't kill him," Crawford said. "Get out, Crawford. I used to be a deputy sheriff. I know how to get a confession out of a man." He scrambled into the back seat. A man's scream came from the interior of the cab. "He's owned it, fellas," said Stokes, jumping out. Everyone loaded into the cabs again, and procession went on until it reached Bramlett Road. They were near the slaughter yards when Clardy stopped with the rest of the cars behind him. Stokes came up and opened the rear door. He pulled out his pocket knife. "Before you kill him, I want you to put the same scars on him that he put on Brown. Get him out of my car. If you're going to kill him, hollered Clardy. Several of the men are eager to get at Willie Earl. Began trying to pull him out of the car. There was the sound of clothes ripping. The black man held onto the back seat, but his fingers finally loosened, and he was dragged bodily from the cab. A tall, slender boy with bushy hair struck the black in the mouth and knocked him down. Rector and Griggs hit him, while Marvin Fleming beat him in the head with the stock of a shotgun. Some of the men tried to get in blows with sticks, and then Stokes dived in wielding his knife like a madman. "Lord, you killed me," came a terrible cry from Willie Earl. Hurd shouted, "Give me the gun. Let's get it over with." He shot Willie Earl in the head and called out for more shells. He shot him twice. Afterward, everyone was more quiet. They got in their cabs, and when they reached the still dark city of Greenville, the cabs faded out, disappearing. Johnny Worthington was the only one that went right back to work. He picked up a few fares at the railroad station before he went off at 8 o'clock. His daughter was just getting up when he came in. "Well, we got rid of one," he announced to her. "Dad, what are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the one that killed Brown," he answered. "My God, Dad, you shouldn't have done it." "What did you tell the dispatcher?" "Dick Curtin? Why, he told him before we left what we were going to do," her father said angrily, and went to bed. I'm agreeing with his daughter right here because, you shouldn't have killed him. If he was innocent, he would have been proven in a court of law, not going out and doing execution style. 31 men was charged with murder on February 24th, 1947, and 3 months later, on May 21st, all the defendants tried were acquitted by a jury of their peers. Of course they were, because they probably thought that justice was done and their peers didn't think they needed to be in jail. Well, bull hockey. They're a bunch of racist SOBs. They should be in jail for what they did. God, that makes me so mad. That wouldn't fly today. But it wasn't long before a strange story began to go around among the drivers, a story they really didn't want to talk about. Something eerie and horrible had been encountered late at night on Bramlett Road. And in a small town not far from Greenville, a waitress recently confided to a customer that her husband was one of the cab drivers who was there that night of the lynching. "My husband's dead now," she said, "but I never saw anything like his face when he came home one night about a year before he died. He had been called out on Bramlett Road, and something really frightened him. When he came home, he was trembling, so he couldn't hardly talk. After a while, he turned to me and said, 'Mac, I saw the black man tonight.' And I said, 'Who do you mean?' But I knew for some things you just don't talk about are always there in the back of a person's mind.' And then he turned and looked at me straight and said, 'I saw the ghost of Willie Earl. He's come back, May.' Yep, he came back to exact terror on you guys for killing him years ago. Some of these guys that they mentioned in this story are probably dead by now, and I hope they repented for their sins for killing an innocent man, because if they didn't, I know where they're going, and it ain't good. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications for more book reading content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man's Corner channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and I said that's a wrap, and have a nice day, everybody.